Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday AMP Show. Hope you're having a lovely week. It's a little bit gray here in LA, but none the wiser. I'm still having a great day. I'm still optimistic and upbeat. I'm in a great mood. So weather can't get me down. No. So step off. But anyways, I hope you guys are all doing great. As always, please let me know in the chat that you can hear me. Just give me that. Oh, so my gosh, someone already said, Zeman already was like, hey, your sound works. And thank you, Roxy, for asking how I'm feeling. I was feeling a little under the weather the beginning of this week, and that is my own fault. I had a really extended rehearsal over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday, and I just went too hard. I pushed my body harder than it was ready for. And then it just kind of took me out. And sometimes I think all of us are not good at knowing our limits. And sometimes your body tells you, like, you're done. You have to be done. And so anyways, thank you for asking how I'm doing. I'm feeling much better, even though I'm still pretty sore. But hey, I am excited for tour, and this is what all this is moving towards. And even though right now I'm a little bit stressed and just like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to make it? Am I going to be able to get there? I remind myself that I have been here before, and I've somehow always made it through, whether it's my personal life or whether it's my career, somehow things always just work out, and if we don't give up on ourselves. So there was your little motivational moment for the day, but okay, we're gonna move on past that because I'm so excited about my guest today. It is the one and only Colbie Caillat. I'm just giddy just thinking about that she is gonna come on and talk to us. I've been a fan of hers since she started putting out music. She's had an incredible career. She's a self-made artist who, we all discovered through MySpace back in the day. If you don't know what that is, then, you're missing out, because that was a great generation of music and music discovery. But I remember her on MySpace because I was finding all kinds of musicians there. And, let's see, I think it was in 2009, Billboard put out an article of the top 100 best-selling music artists of the decade, and she was part of that list, which is insane. She's accomplished so much. She has collaborated with the greats, the great greats, and she is the great. So I'm going to invite her in to chat with us today. There we go. All right. So anyways, if there's anything you guys want to know, you can put your comments and your questions in the chat. So that I can make sure that I know what you guys want to hear as well. So yeah, I'm really excited to talk to her. We'll just wait for her to, let me make sure I invited her in correctly. Okay, invite has been sent, so we're just waiting. Prayers, there's no technical issues today. But yeah, she does have some new music coming out, which I'm really excited about. Oh, it says she's unavailable, so I'll give it just a second, and then I'll hope she comes back. Okay, I'm going to invite her again. Sometimes this app can be great. Sometimes she is a little finicky, so I just re-invited Colbie, but she does have the music coming out, which I'm so excited to talk more about with her. Okay, I think she's in. Colbie, how are you doing today?
Hi, how are you?
I'm so good. I'm so good. Where are you calling from today? Where in the world are you?
I am at my house in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, lovely. Have you been a Nashville resident for a long time now, or are you new to that city?
No, I've been here about 7 years.
Oh, nice.
And
I hear great things.
Where do you live?
So I'm in LA. I've been out here for about the same amount of time as you've been in Nashville, so it's very much become my home. But my bandmates have moved to Nashville in the last few years. I've had multiple friends move out there. I just feel like it is, and everybody only has the best things to say about it. Like, do you love it there?
I do love it. And I'm from LA. I'm from Southern California, and I never thought I would leave there. I really never thought I'd stay here either once I moved. I just thought, like, I'm a California girl, but I love this city. It's like a small town in a big city, and there's so much to do. It's such a great community. Everyone's like friends with each other. You run into people everywhere. It's just really great. So it feels like home to me, and I'm so happy I made the jump.
Every time someone like describes Nashville to me, I'm just like, I could see that. I could see that being my place. I like a small town vibe, but it's also a big city, you know? So love that. Okay, so
Yeah.
you've got some new music that you have just released, but you're also like about to release. Did you write all of this music in Nashville? And was this the first time writing music out of Nashville?
You know, I wrote all of this here. Yes, I wrote it during the pandemic, and I recorded the record about like a year and a half ago now. I've actually had it done for a while, but I got to work with, you know, some of my favorite writers that I've been writing with for, you know, Liz Rose, who is a well-known writer in Nashville. I wrote most of the record with her, and she's been like my therapist basically for life and love and songwriting. And it was really special just to get to drive down the street from my house and write songs with her when I'd come up with an idea. And she'd really, her and AJ Pruis, they're who I wrote most of the record with, they really just helped me say what I wanted to say in like the most beautiful way.
Oh man, that is amazing, because I feel like that's the best gift of like a songwriter, is when they can pull out of you and help you find like what you actually want to say, and they like find it in you. Like that's the great thing about a great collaborative songwriter is, and they make you feel like it was all your idea, but you're like, no, this 1,000% was drawn out by your craftsmanship of the ability to find it inside of you. Like it's really, I have so much respect for great collaborators in that way.
Collaborative effort.
Yeah. So
Well,
tell me
I mean,
about
if you
your
think
new
about it, like
song.
obviously, you know, that song wouldn't come about if all of you weren't. Oops, sorry, I think there was a big delay.
Oh, I'm so
Can you
sorry.
hear me?
You keep talking. Yeah.
No, it's okay. I think there's
Yes.
just like a long delay, so I'm wondering how we fix that. Um,
Yes. Sorry. Keep talking about what you were talking about,
Hello.
and I'll try
Shoot,
to not step on you for the delay. This is weird. It is quite a long delay. I'm so sorry.
it's okay. I was just saying that like collaborating, you know, the song wouldn't have come about if all those people weren't in the room and bringing their own experiences into that song and that story. And so it's just always fun because you never know what you're gonna come up with. And then it could be, you know, some songs are you just fall in love with, and some are just okay. But it's usually just so much fun to get to collaborate with other people.
Yeah, 100%. And I love your new song, Worth It, and I would love to know what was the inspiration behind it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was in a long relationship, and I ended the relationship a few years ago, and you know, we're still friends. We're like family. We love each other. Our relationship was so beautiful, and so I really wanted to write a song that would just speak about how much I cherished the time we had and the love that we had. And not all breakups are bad. Not all breakups have to be, well, you're not friends anymore or you're mad at each other. You know, there's songs for those types that are necessary as well. But this was not that, and I really wanted to show what our love was, what our time together was, and for him to have that.
Oh, I love that. And you know, I've actually been thinking about that a lot lately, about how not all relationships are meant to be forever, whether it's like like a friendship or a romantic relationship. But we all think that if something's great, it's meant to last forever the way that it started. But it's so true that sometimes things are meant to come into your life and help you grow at a time. And just because it didn't carry into every, other chapter of your life doesn't mean that it wasn't so special when you had it. And it doesn't mean that it was even meant to carry through every chapter. So I've been thinking a lot about that lately. I think it's so beautiful.
Oh my gosh, I completely agree with you. And I actually have a song on the new record that's called Meant for Me. But it's this beautiful twist. It's like you were meant for me to love, meant for me to hold, meant for me to learn from, and you were meant for me to lose. And it's just like crushing, but also it's real, because people are meant to be in our lives to teach us. We teach them. and then that's okay if that ends. And I think it's hard for us all to grasp that things end. Like, I think we just think it's supposed to be forever, and so it's still always devastating when something ends, whether it's a friendship or a love or career, whatever it may be.
100%. And can you talk about the phrase worth it? Because I don't know, I feel like that's such a loaded phrase and it can mean so much. So what does it mean to you when you just think of the phrase worth it?
That's a great question. Worth the hard work, worth the struggle, worth the exhaustion, worth the learning experience, worth the hard times, worth the, I think it's just, when you're put through something, you're stumping me. That's a great question. But yeah, I think when you get through the hard times, and I think that's what I think.
I love that. I recently had like this really deep conversation with a really good friend of mine who lost something really important to her, and she started, as a result of like going through this loss, she started to push things and people and opportunities away because she was like, I just can't face the fact that I could lose these things too. And I remember we got to talking about like, well, like even this thing that you've recently lost, would you go back and do it all over again to have the beautiful parts of it and what it taught you? And she paused and she was like, yeah. And in a way, to me, in that moment, I was like, that's what I guess worth it means to me, of like, I would do it again. I'd go through all the hardship so that I could learn from everything and have the beauty. And, you know, and it kind of makes you realize like all of life is going to, like at the end of the day, we all will eventually lose everything. Like nothing's permanent, you know, everything's a chapter in some way, shape, or form. And the things that you're living, even though you could lose it eventually, it's like, well, today it's worth it still. I don't know. It's really beautiful. And the fact that the song is called Worth It, it meant a lot of different layers to me as I listened to it.
Oh, that is so beautiful. That is like the best way of explaining it. And it's so true. Like, I think we've all felt that when something ends, when you lose something, you're so hurt at the loss, and it makes you never, like I've heard people say, like, you know, when their dog passes away, they're like, I'm never getting a dog ever again. Or if your relationship ends, like you never want to date again. And that pain makes you feel that way at first. But like you just said, like we're meant to experience those things. And if we would go back and relive it all over with the same outcome, that is when you know how beautiful and how important it was for your life.
100%. And I also have to say, I watched the music video and it was so beautiful. Like, I love the way that, you know, you're singing, and then like behind you, like in the periphery, there's these two dancers that are telling a story through movement. So I just wanted to know kind of what was the process of making this video? Where did the vision come from? Because it was so beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I really wanted to have dancers, and I wanted to show the emotion through their dancing, and with like the push and pull and like the affection, but then also, you know, the dancer, the female, being spun out and now she's on her own, and that it's okay that you're out on your own. And I thought it would be a really beautiful way to show it through dance. And, you know, my cousin's a dancer, and she just lost her mom recently, my aunt, and she's been doing all these beautiful, like, just real, authentic, emotional dances where she just like lets her emotion out. And that really was what it melted my heart so much. And I was like, wow, it really shows the emotion, and you can show it in whatever way you're wanting. And so that was really what inspired me to want to have dancers be in the video to explain the song.
Yeah, it was so beautiful. That was your cousin?
No, she wasn't in it. She actually lives in California, but her being the dancer and me seeing her dancing, it's what inspired it.
Got you. Yeah, it was so special. I love dance. I'm such a fan of like when people tell stories through, you know, using their bodies, and, you know, like at one point the guy like throws her up in the air and like she's on I was like, oh, I just think it's so magical when people can express that, you know?
Yes.
Okay, so this is your first release since I might be wrong on this, but I believe since 2016, right?
You are, well, yeah, my solo release, yes, it's been a long time. Right after I released that album, Gypsy Heart, I moved to Nashville and I started a country band with my fiance Justin at the time and my friend Jason Reeves and his wife Nellie. And the four of us wrote songs for a few years and recorded an album, and we released it in, spring of 2020, right when the pandemic happened. And then, yeah, so it was it's been a long time, and I'm really happy to finally have my own new music out.
Yes, what does it feel like to get to put solo music out again, to see the reactions from your fans, to like what does this whole process feel like since it's been a minute?
It feels really good. Everyone's been so sweet and happy that I have new music out. They've been so receptive to the song and to the meaning, and that's just really made me feel like so warm and I don't know. I think because I haven't done my own solo thing for so long, and I feel like I've grown so much. I'm just like a different woman now at this point, and life is different. And so I was really just worried of how I would feel, and do I want to release music again, and how do I want to go back out in the world? It's all been, I think, for all of us, after the last few years of life changes, it really makes you think about what you want in life. And it took me a bit to be ready to release this. I think the songs were so fresh and new that I really wasn't ready to go sing them. But now enough time has passed to where I feel like I want them out in the world to help other people who's feeling that same way.
Yeah, it's such an interesting process to like make new music when you kind of have a catalog that you're very familiar with and you have a relationship with like this past version of yourself as an artist, and like you understand how that then kind of feeds into your relationship with your fans. And it's always really interesting when you start to try to make fresh music, and it's like, okay, am I ready to share this part of myself? I don't even know like the connection I have with these songs, if it feels like, I don't know if it's ready to be shared. It's just such an interesting process. So like I feel you. I'm in the process of like kind of finishing up my next album, and I'm like looking at these little songs like, I don't know you yet and I don't trust you yet. Like
it's true. Well, because you're gonna have to go sing them, and you're gonna have to go talk about what they mean, and all of that. You want to be really ready for it. I see you're touring 100%. Soon too, right? Are you coming to Nashville?
We're not coming to Nashville this tour, but we will be next year.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. I know. Next time I come to Nashville, I'm definitely going to hit you up. I'd be honored. I would be so honored to have you out to our show. And then, on the flip side, are you touring soon? I see.
Okay, yes. Please let me know when you're in Nashville, and I would love to get together and hear you play and all of that. And I don't have a tour planned, but I have like some scattered shows. So I have a show in New York like next week, and I have a couple shows with Gavin DeGraw in June on the East Coast, and then I have like, I don't know, a festival. It's all on my website. There's no like big tours, and then I have some shows in October. So just a bunch of scattered little fun shows. Yeah.
Amazing. There's something so special about those one-offs too, because you get to like, you don't get the kind of flow that I feel like I personally find best on tour, but there's like this certain amount of energy that you have that you don't quite have when you're doing a show every other night or every night and sleeping on a bus. But one-offs, you get to go out there and be like, I am fresh. I'm actually well rested. And like,
no, it's so true. I'm always torn because when you're out of touring, like you said, like when you're in it, you're in this flow, and it feels good to be with your whole team for like every day. But then at the same time, It's like you get kind of like, I get super homesick, and sometimes I get a little depressed on the road because I'm not in my normal routine, and I feel, so I really want the balance. And that's why I don't want to just tour like crazy. I really want to find the right way to where I can just really love it and always be excited to go play those shows.
100%. Is there anything that you do as like, something to help you find stability when you are on the road or when you're traveling a lot? Like anything that helps you with your mental health or your routine or just grounding? Like, I feel like you kind of like we all have to find that when we're out and about. So is there anything that you do?
You do have to find it, and it took me a long time to find my thing. I've gotten into hot yoga the last like few years, and now I love it so much. I used to hate yoga. I thought it was like, is this even a workout? I don't know. And then now I just love it, and I feel like it calms me. I feel so healthy after, and it's good for your mind and your body. And ultimately, just walking, like it's so cool when you're in a new city. You can walk out and about, and you can get your exercise, and you can also be sightseeing, and then always finding time to get together with your band and crew and get drinks or go to dinner or go sightsee. And then I also bring my like watercolors sometimes. So those are the things that I try to dabble in.
Oh my gosh, I can so see, like, just the way your music sounds. I'm like, of course you watercolor paint. Like, that makes so much sense to me. Like, your music sounds like a watercolor painting. That's really, really cool. But yeah, no, it is, and it's interesting because, like you said, you can become very quickly like lonely on the road, even if you love the people that you're with, because you're all kind of doing your own thing, and on days off, everybody's exhausted, and so people go to their own rooms. But you're so right that like the ability to reach out to the other people and be like, hey, let's go walk around, and like let's plan and go to dinner, or like, I mean, it's the same thing that happens, I feel like, to people at home. Like when you start to get in that hole, like the last thing we all want to do is reach out to the people that are literally at our fingertips. But like how much solidarity and comfort comes from just being like, hey, do you want to walk around this city with me? Like, it's a powerful thing, just the connection that people we're there with. Yeah.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you.
So you have mentioned that a new album is on the horizon. So I'm curious, like, is there a release date yet? And then secondly, is there a through line or some kind of inspiration behind this new music you've been making?
The album comes out in September, and the whole inspiration is about, it is a breakup album, but in a very, I feel like it's a very optimistic way where, it talks about how things end, but how things begin, and lots of like, appreciation and life lessons. And I think that it's just me like growing as a adult and like a person finally, that like I found my independence and learning who I am, and then, paying respects to that relationship, and also talking about, dating and new relationships and all the ups and downs of that. So there's, I feel like it'll be relatable to anyone that's, going through some form of a breakup or dating situation.
Yes, I will be listening to it. I mean, gosh, I feel like I've been through that cycle more times in my life than I would have thought I would go through it. So,
right.
and I think everybody can relate to that, because even if it's like, a breakup song can relate to so many different types of like losing anything. I feel like just that emotion of like any type of loss, whether it's a job or a lifestyle or, a friend or, so yeah, I can't wait to hear it. And it's just one single that we've got so far from you, right?
Yeah, Worth It is out now, and I have a new song called Pretend, and it comes out on June 9th. And then there will be a new song every month until the album in September. So we're just going to be like, throwing stuff out there, and there'll be new stuff to listen to soon.
Awesome. Okay, well, when we're done with our interview, I'm going to play Worth It, and then everybody just has to remember that more is coming, so just stay tuned. Okay, what made this album creation process different from your previous albums?
Well, I think this time, I'm trying to think of like, everything was different. I had just ended a 10-year relationship. The world was shut down. I had just ended the country band. Like the band broke up, and I was now like this just person who was living life and now figuring out like where to start again and what do I want to do. And then I would, in my previous albums, I was always on the road touring and promoting the records, and then you'd schedule in writing sessions, and you'd write 60 songs, and then you'd narrow it down for the album that you're gonna, put 12 songs on. And for this album, I really didn't want to just book a bunch of sessions. I really wanted to write a song when I had something to say. And I think it was the perfect time that I was allowing myself that. I didn't have anyone pressuring me to do it. And, I would call Liz and AJ or my other, there's 4 other people on the record that I would call and be like, I have this idea. Do you want to finish it with me, or do you want to write it with me? And it was just, honestly, like I said, it's kind of it was like therapy. And there was no pressure to it. And I think that's what made it so enjoyable and so different than all my records in the past, minus my first album, because the first album, you're just, writing as you go, new to the world in that world. But I will say it's the most calm record I've ever been able to create.
Oh, that's so beautiful. It's also really interesting to me, and I feel like this is a lesson I've been trying to learn. I know it in my mind, but I don't know it in my body yet. And that's the lesson that I don't know where along the way that I learned that stress creates more productivity. That's a myth that I believe in myself. And the idea that if I'm stressed and if I know there's pressure, I'll write better music, or I'll get more done, or I'll work harder. But it's really interesting because I find that that's just that's rarely the case. Usually I write the best music when I don't feel like I have to, or when you take the pressure off yourself, or you're doing it for you. And so I think that's it's a really beautiful thing to share, because otherwise we're always going to be putting ourselves into anxiety situations, because subconsciously we feel like anxiety is what's going to produce the best product, but even though that's not.
I mean, I completely agree. And I feel like it's, I had the time to take, it took me 2 years to make the record, which I guess is maybe kind of normal, but in any other, I would say you got to find the balance. I did take my time, but also in the real world, we can't just be as lackadaisical. So I feel like there's always a balance of you don't want to stress yourself out, but you do want to push yourself a little. So, but ultimately you want to allow that creativity to come out of you when it's ready.
Yeah, totally. And you mentioned that you would kind of call up your collaborators when you had an idea. And so where does songwriting start for you? Do you have a melody first, or do you start out with more poetry and words?
It's always different. I've done both. So the song Meant for Me that I told you about, I was just thinking about this relationship this guy I started dating, and it wasn't going very well. And I was just thinking of all the great things that I learned from him. And then I was like, oh, he was meant for me to be this in my life and this and that. But then he's also not meant for me, long term. And so I told them I wanted to write a song called Meant for Me, but how you lose the person. And so they just helped me say it in the most poetic way. And then the song Pretend that comes out in a couple weeks, I was just playing my guitar, and my song Bubbly has this, it's a different tuning. It's in open D. And so I love playing that guitar, and I try writing new songs on it. And I was making it more of this folky kind of rhythmic guitar progression. And I just started wanting to go back and pretend I could be in the good parts of that relationship. And so that's what I started singing this melody and most of the chorus. And then I called again Liz and AJ, and I was like, you guys, I have this idea. And we wrote it a couple days later.
Wow. That's so cool. So it kind of comes from all different sides,
It does.
I guess, every time, right?
Well, it does. And even worth it. I went to my first session with Liz and AJ, and I told them I wanted to write and how I wanted to talk about my relationship that just ended and how beautiful it was. But I had no idea. I had no melody, nothing. And then AJ had the melody idea and the worth it. He said that it wasn't worth it, or sorry, it wasn't perfect, but it's worth it. And then we wrote the song. So it can be any one of us starting the idea, which is really fun.
Yeah, and it's so cool that you have, it's always so comforting when you've just got your team of people that you trust and you can be super vulnerable with. And when you're kind of just thrown around to different rooms, it's a lot harder to like build that trust with the different writers and people. So that's really special that you kind of had this little community to write the album with.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure you felt that. Like at the beginning of my career, I had only written with my friend Jason and Michael, and then I got put in all these writing sessions with new people, and I'm like, how am I supposed to tell them what is going on in my life and be vulnerable when I don't know these people? But you end up making friends with them, and then they become your close people that you got to get out of your comfort zone. And I will say that both are essential. Have you felt that like it's uncomfortable to write with people sometimes?
Well, I feel like it definitely is. It's not my favorite space as an artist. Like it's probably like the most vulnerable thing for probably most writers, but it's a place I don't love. But I feel like it's essential for me to make myself uncomfortable. And so whenever I start a new project, I have my team throw me in the room with people I've never met and never worked with, to just kind of almost like jumping in the deep end of the cold pool to like kind of be like, oh, okay, yes, I can still swim. And then I will start back to the people that, some of them are the new friends and the new collaborators that I'm like, wow, I clicked well with. And then also going back to some of those just people that I love to work with and I know I trust already. So that's kind of my process, and it's very uncomfortable, but it's kind of the way I found I need it.
Yeah. I think it's so true. And I've found where, times where I'm like, oh, I want to cancel the session. I don't want to go write with this person. Like, it's not like I don't know them at all. So I just don't want to put myself in the uncomfortable space. And then I'll end up still going, and we write a great song that ends up being on the record that I love. And I'm like, okay, remember that when you want to like stay in your comfort zone, like remember that you can branch out, and you will like writing with this person. You will come up with a cool song. But it's like you have to force yourself into it sometimes.
100%. Just being like, it's okay, we got this, we've done this before, like let's go. It's a scary process though, and like the amount of times that I've like been hoping as I'm on my way that they're going to cancel, because I'm like, I'm just a little nervous today. I'm not feeling my confident self, like, and you're hoping but they don't cancel, and you arrive and you're like, well, I guess we're doing it,
Oh my God, you feel that way too? Okay, I feel that half the time, and I'm like, this must not be normal. But it's just anxiety and ourselves wanting to like stay protected.
Yeah, and it's funny, I've learned over and over again that it's not a feeling that serves me, but you're right, it comes from a real place. It's anxiety, and I notice I have it even in certain social situations, not just in like a writer, but sometimes I'll be like going to hang out with someone I've never hung out with before, and I have that same like reaction in my mind of like, maybe they'll cancel, and I'm like, no, I'm going to go tonight and I'm going to have a really great conversation. If anything, like, why would I want this to not, so I've just learned that it comes from a place that's not serving me, and that usually I have, a great time. At least my past self can help me remember that. So whether it's writing or, social, just anxiety can be such a misleading feeling.
Well, it can be overpowering, and it really is like a mindset like shift. And it's so true. I'm that way. I'm like, you can always cancel on me and I will totally be fine with it, because I'll probably be relieved. And not that I don't want to hang out with you, it's more that I'm just uncomfortable. But then once you do it, like you said, you're so happy that you did it and you saw them. And one of my favorite lines from a John Mayer song is, fear is a friend who's misunderstood. And I like that resonated so much, because it's like, oh, we're scared about something, but like sit with it and think of what it is, and then like shift your mind into thinking the positive that's going to come out of that scenario, and then that will always outweigh it. So I think I try to remind myself of that when I get that kind of anxiety.
That's so true. And my gosh, John Mayer said it better than anyone could. We love John Mayer. No, that's so well said though, like everything you added to it. And do you get any sort of anxiety about performing? And if you do, how have you kind of learned to be comfortable on stage?
Yes, I have so much stage fright. I always have. Since the beginning, it was like crippling at the beginning. Like I would cancel shows, I would cry before TV performances, I would be like, my eyes closed, I would be shaking. Like literally, it was like I think I was like traumatized by it. And so I really just had to keep doing it because I was so fortunate that my career happened so quickly, and you can't say no to stuff. You have to take these great opportunities. So I got a stage coach and I had a therapist, and I had to just keep doing it. And the more experience and practice, the more I started feeling comfortable, the more I would get to engage with my fans was really helpful. But ultimately, I think I'll say that my song Try, when I wrote that about how I felt uncomfortable in my skin as a female and in the entertainment industry, and then, I wrote it with three wonderful gentlemen, Babyface and Jason Reeves and Tony Dixon. And when I was writing with these guys and telling them how I felt nervous and uncomfortable, they shared that they feel the same. And we were like, oh wait, you're unsure of yourself, and whether you're male or female, whatever age you're at, we all try to alter ourselves to be someone better in hopes that people like us. And once I started sharing that with my audience, I actually let them know I'm an introvert, I'm awkward, I'm shy and quiet. The more I actually started being super open and having a blast on stage, and it really just made me feel like, oh, I don't have to hide from them. I don't have to be this like dancing entertainer. I can be who I am, and that's what they're coming to see. And so it's been a long journey, and I'm still never like excited to go on stage, but I can enjoy it now. And that's been a huge relief.
That's amazing. Just the fact that you kind of looked inward and you're like, because I feel like sometimes we don't even realize we're kind of trying to be something that we think we're supposed to be. It's like, it's not a conscious thought. We're like, oh, I need to look confident. I need to dance around. It was more just like in your head, that's how it happens. And so that must be the way it should be. But the self-awareness to be like, oh, wait, I'm trying to be something that's not me. And like, I'm going to own that. And I'm going to say, hey, this is actually who I am. Like, what a cool process to go through and to come out the other side, realizing like it's still scary, but you're more comfortable being yourself than you are trying to be somebody else.
Yeah. And people feel it. People feel when you're not yourself, and they also feel when you are, and they are more welcoming with that. And it helps them feel like they can be themselves. And that's like the best part about it. I think that when people are vulnerable around me, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, thank you for that. Now that reminded me I should be vulnerable. And then that will remind the next person that feels like I just helped them feel safe in being more themselves.
100%. We don't need to talk about this. I'm just curious. Are you a Brene Brown fan / reader?
I am. Yeah.
I love her. Just the things you were saying. I was like, I feel like we are both Brene Brown sisters. I love her books.
Yeah, like the stories we tell ourselves. Yeah.
It's crazy. I read Daring Greatly like every other year, just to kind of remind myself the way I want to live. Like, it's like a good cleaning of the brain for me. For some reason, but
it really is. That's a good reminder. I need to read that. I do. I mean, I've read parts of it, but I need to read it in full.
Yeah, it's probably time for me to like reread it again. But you talked a little bit about, how you connect with your fans and how that helps you on stage. So I'm just curious, like, what do you think? Well, I guess you already told me how you connect with your fans, but what is your favorite part about live performing?
When everyone's singing the songs back to me, I love that. When I see like moms and their daughters in the audience, I feel like it's just so cute. Like I always hear in my meet and greets how people were raised on my music, and how like parents will always tell me how grateful they are that I like write these songs that they can listen to with their kids. And I didn't even realize that that's like the kind of music I was writing, but it made me so happy that I could be a part of, a family or a relationship like that, and help be a positive voice for, well, anyone, but especially, someone young growing up who's trying to navigate how to be. So that's always been my favorite, is getting to hear the reaction and see families together and see their smiles when they're singing my songs.
That's so beautiful. And you do have music that just kind of transcends generations. That it's not like, oh, this is mom music, or this is kid music, or teenage music, like some music really does have its place, and you just
Yeah.
have such a sound that can kind of span different generations and have like a timeless effect to it. So that's really beautiful that you can see that, like that connection, not just between you and your fans that you create, but you get to see it connecting them together.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
beautiful. Now, you've also collaborated with like huge artists. You've also released your own massively successful like solo projects. You've also written for other artists. And so I'm curious, is it a very different process when you're doing these kind of three different buckets, like working your solo stuff versus collaborating versus writing for other people? Like kind of how do you switch between those, and are they all very different?
I would say it's different. And I feel like when I'm writing and I know it's for me, I feel more comfortable sharing my thoughts and sharing like, no, this is really important to say this, or no, that like the meaning of the song has to be this because I want it to relate to what I'm exactly going through. But when I'm writing for like as a duet with someone else or it's for their music, I find myself feeling way more, I feel honestly like I share less input because I'm like, well, if that's what they want to say as the artist, like they should say that. Like that's what they're wanting to put out there. So I find myself not feeling maybe as comfortable to collaborate when I know it's for someone else, which I shouldn't hold back, but that's naturally kind of what I do. But when I've done like duets, like with Jason Mraz, that one we actually wrote together over email, sending ideas back and forth with my guitar player, Tim Fagan. And like, that's not normally how you write. You know, you're normally in a room with someone and collaborating. So that was totally different. We'd send lyrics back and forth over email and voice notes back and forth. And so that was totally different.
That's wild. I don't think I've ever heard of a process like that. That's so cool.
Yeah, we were on tour in different parts of the world. So that's the way it worked out.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I just went to his album release event like last week, actually, a week ago.
Oh,
And he
amazing.
played on pop, and he's a wonderful person. And I feel like you guys are very much like kind of cut from the same cloth, and just like your kindness and your vibe. And anyways, he's great. Love Jason.
Isn't he the best? I know I saw him, I recorded something with him like a couple months ago, and he was always the best because even with my stage fright, when we sang on SNL together, when we sang Lucky, I was so nervous and terrified, and my team at the time was like, just, I don't know, like the hair and makeup people in my face and all the stuff that helps your anxiety or like helps like fuel the anxiety. And he was like, come hang with my band and I, chill, relax. This is supposed to be fun. And they've just always been the best promoters of peace and love. And he truly is that person, as you know. It's just the best to be around.
It truly is. And, you get like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's why he talks about gardening so much. And he talks about like roller skating and yoga. Like, you're like, he's living what he preaches. Like, he truly is that. And, it's like a good reminder of like, okay, like you said at the beginning, we all have to find our thing that like, gets us to our Jason Mraz zen.
It's so true.
Okay, so looking back at all of my collaborators, it's always, well, first of all, it's impossible to say like I have a favorite. People ask me that question, I'm like, that's impossible. They're all different. But I feel like they all check a different box. And so I'm just curious. I want to ask you a couple like of these boxes. So out of all of your collaborators, which for you was the biggest pinch me moment? Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening.
Oh my goodness. Working with Babyface, for sure. I was so intimidated. I couldn't believe that I was working with such a brilliant writer and producer, and that felt bizarre. Jason Mraz, honestly, because I was a huge fan of his, and this was just at the very beginning of my career, and I couldn't believe that he wanted to work with me. And I mean, and then when it comes to like touring, like when I got to tour with John Mayer and with Sheryl Crow, and those things were like, I grew up, like I write the songs I do because of John Mayer, and Sheryl Crow her voice is just something I've always loved in her songs. And so those were things where I got to like sing with them on stage and tour with them. And I just couldn't believe that was reality. Like, how was that real life?
That's so cool. Okay. So, and you can use some of the same names for this next question. Okay. Which of these artists that you've collaborated with, do you think impacted you the most in terms of like the way you've approached your career?
I would say Jason Mraz for sure. He, like I was saying, he's just been so inspirational in being who you are, being calm, being fun, being a kid, being playful, being just having good energy around you, and like letting me know that that's even possible. I think when I first started touring, that wasn't around me, so I just didn't even know that's how it could be until he showed me, and I was like, oh, this could be fun, and you can love the people, and you could be like calm. So he was a huge impact.
Amazing. Okay, and then last one, which of the artists that you've collaborated with was the most fun to work with?
Oh, I would probably, I would have to say Jason, probably in that way, in like that, like nature, everyone around you, like everything is like a group activity, everyone's included, everyone's laughing. I'd say they're the, like when I got to see him in his band again a couple months ago, I was just like, oh, this is the happiest place to be. They're just such good people.
It's true. Yeah, him and his band and his whole team, they just seem to have such a great connection, chemistry, support, like all the things that it's like, yes, that's what this industry should be, you know, and it's possible. It's nice to see and be reminded that like this is the goal and this is possible, you know. But well, thank you so much for your time and for just, you know, sharing yourself with us today and all your wisdom and your vulnerability. Like this has just been a really beautiful interview, and it's really, I don't know, you said some things I really needed to hear, so thank you for that. And is there anything else that you want to share with us before, you know, we lose you?
No, honestly, thank you for chatting with me. This has been so lovely. I feel like we think a lot of the same things and feel a lot of, it's nice to be able to relate to someone who's experienced it all, who's in the industry, that, you know, you feel the same way. So it's been really lovely. I'm a huge fan of yours, by the way, and I just appreciate the chat.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I likewise, right back at you. And by the way, I will be in Nashville in a few weeks-ish. I don't know the exact date, but if we should get together and we can both cancel on each other if need be.
I love you. That sounds perfect. And yes, we will exchange info, have our team send it, but I would love that.
Awesome. Okay, well, you're the best. You know, again, thank you. And thanks for being patient with the whole like lag thing. I'm so glad that got fixed. That would have been really weird. But,
I think it was my Wi-Fi, to be honest. I moved to a different part of my house, and I think it was probably me. So I apologize.
Oh, all good. All good. Well, have a great rest of your evening. I can't wait for the new music to come out. And you're just the best.
Thank you. So are you. And we'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Oh, she was lovely. Oh, I just love her. And yeah, her music is so incredible. And so I want to get to playing some of her stuff. I think we'll start first with Worth It. And again, for anybody that maybe has joined since, she told us about, you know, this upcoming album is all about, you know, kind of her experience with her most recent relationship and moving on past it. But also I love that this is a breakup song that isn't bitter. I mean, of course, I love a great bitter anthem, you know, about past romance, sure, but also not all parting ways have to be like that. And sometimes I think that's a little bit harder to get over when you really still care about the person, you still love them, and you realize it's just maybe not right. So anyways, this is a beautiful song, Worth It by Colbie Caillat. Oh my gosh, I love that song. I love that. And I love that Just Live Art said her voice brings my heart joy. So true. She just has such a pure, like, calming, like I meant it when I said, oh my gosh, your music sounds like watercolor. And so when she told me that, you know, told us that she loves to paint and brings her watercolors on tour, I was like, that makes so much sense. I believe it. Okay. Next, I want to play like 2 more of her songs. So I picked some of my favorites from her past catalog. This is the opposite end of the love spectrum. So Worth It is about a breakup. This one is about falling for someone. And I can remember, especially like college Lindsey, when I would have like a crush on a boy, like I would go in my car or in my room and I would play this song and just smile because this song is so sweet about, falling in love or just having a crush on someone. And anyways, so I love this. This is Falling for You by Colbie. Alrighty, well, if that didn't put you in a good mood, then I think that maybe you just need to take a nap and try again, because that was such a good song. It is such a good song. And again, thanks for joining us today. Always so nice to have this community. I love getting to chat with you guys every week. And I look forward. I'll see you guys next week on AMP, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your week till then. So stay tuned, and also make sure to stay tuned for more music coming from Colbie soon. All right. Have a good week. Bye.